You submit your paperwork, wait for weeks, and then your mortgage application is rejected. Not because you can't afford it today, but because a credit bureau is listing an incorrect default, a prescribed debt from many years ago, or an account with an artificially inflated balance. To fix this, you have to use Sections 70 through 73 of the National Credit Act. This is the specific legislation designed to force credit bureaus to investigate and correct unlawful listings on your profile. Over the next 5 minutes, we will walk through the exact steps to draft and submit a legally compliant dispute letter that requires bureaus to clear those errors. Credit bureaus process millions of files, relying heavily on consumers not knowing the rules that govern their own data. By strictly applying the NCA, you stop asking customer service for favors and start legally mandating compliance. Before logging into any portal, you need 3 things in front of you: a clear copy of your South African ID, any supporting evidence like payment receipts or an affidavit, and internet access to reach the dispute portals. Gathering these specific documents beforehand ensures your initial submission is complete. This prevents the bureau from immediately closing your dispute on a simple procedural technicality. Step 1 is obtaining the data. Under Section 70 of the National Credit Act, you have the right to claim 1 free credit report every 12 months from the major bureaus, including TransUnion, Experian, and XDS. Step 2 is the audit. You need to review the report line by line to identify specific errors. Look out for accounts you do not recognize, court judgments that were incorrectly granted, or accounts you have already settled that still appear as active. You also need to check for prescribed debt. Locate the date of last payment field. If that date is older than 3 years and you have not made a payment or acknowledged the debt in that time, the debt has prescribed. It is legally dead and must be removed from your profile. If you spot an old debt, do not contact the creditor to argue about it. If you verbally acknowledge the account or make even a single R1 payment, you instantly restart that 3-year clock. You only need to identify one of these discrepancies. A single factual error provides the legal ammunition required to compel the bureau to open a formal investigation. Step 3 is checking the balances for overcharging, using Section 103(5) of the NCA, commonly known as the in duplum rule. Once an account defaults, the law limits total interest, admin charges, and collection fees. They can never exceed the original principal debt. If your principal balance is 5,000 Rand, the absolute maximum legally permissible balance the creditor can pursue is 10,000 Rand. If your credit report shows a balance inflated past that legal cap, the creditor is violating the National Credit Act. This renders the listing unlawful, giving the bureau clear grounds to intervene. Step 4 is writing the actual dispute. Using Sections 71 and 72, you will submit a formal complaint directly through the bureau's online dispute portal or their designated email address. Your letter must be precise. You need to identify the exact creditor name and account number, state the specific reason for dispute, demand a full breakdown of the charges, and require an immediate correction. Within the text, explicitly state that you are lodging the dispute in terms of Sections 70 through 73, and reference Section 103(5) if you found an in duplum overcharge. Formatting your letter around these exact statutes signals to the bureau that they are dealing with a legal notice, not a general customer complaint. It removes their ability to dismiss the claim without due process. Step 5 is tracking the timeline. The moment you submit your dispute, the National Credit Act gives the bureau exactly 20 business days to investigate and resolve the issue. While you wait, it helps to understand the verification process. Credit bureaus do not actively audit creditors for legal compliance. They simply check if the data they have on file matches the data the creditor provided. If the bureau comes back and rejects your dispute simply because the creditor told them the debt is valid, reply immediately. Demand a full breakdown of how the balance complies with Section 103(5) and request a copy of the original signed agreement. This forces the creditor to manually calculate and prove their math. Because many creditors either cannot locate the original agreements or failed to prove compliance, the listing becomes legally challengeable and must be removed. If the 20 business days pass and the bureau has failed to resolve the unlawful listing, you take the matter higher. You escalate your time-stamped dispute to the National Credit Regulator, and if needed, the National Consumer Tribunal. To prepare for that possibility, save a PDF copy of your submitted dispute right now, and physically mark your 20-day deadline on a calendar. Navigating the National Credit Act moves you out of a defensive position. By verifying your own data and submitting targeted legal requests, you require creditors and bureaus to prove their claims. Grab the dispute letter template from the links provided and start reviewing your profile.